Hi, Tim McCabe. In 2008, I found a chalice accompanied by a lance that painted telling how to connect to the next world, smashing at the head with the lance that accompanies the chalice, and eating from the left to center lobial part of a person and being able to take the journey of death with them. And they were asking the spirit world for the answers for the physical protection. That's what it says in the painting on the chalice I found, accompanied by the lance they smash head with. Pours by itself automatically. I said, this sounds like the ancient folktale legend of the Grail. Then I found this statue right here, which tells the story of the quest of the Holy Grail. Uh, you see Christ on the cross, there's his face, and you see his heart shines through the light of life right there. His leg coming across the loincloth, and there's a cross, and off the back of his head is his face, and he's walking off towards death with his hands out like a ghost. And here's the priest with the beanie touching his left hand as he walks off towards death. Now, as you look at his face, and he's hanging on the cross with the light of life in his heart, you see this guy. There's his forehead, his hands up to his mouth with a stogie right there, smoking a stogie. It goes up to Christ's nose with the eye and his ear and the hair. And he's kicking back, smoking a stogie that goes up to Christ's nose. He has white horns, a good spirit guy. And you see that he becomes the face of Christ with the two eyes, nose, mouth. Over here you see Guinevere with the mouth, nose, eye, facing the direction of death. Guinevere got whacked. They didn't know what they were getting into because of the question I'd asked. Women lost their hair. You see she's talking into her arm. Right here, there's a broken spear. There's the spearhead, the break in the spear. You see her chest, and she's wearing a dress. Facing the direction of death with the eye. Talking to her arm, it's a broken spear. And over here you have the sick fisher king, the mouth, nose, eye, reaching towards the sky for salvation through Christianity, his emaciated body, mouth, nose, eye. It tells the whole story of the quest of the Holy Grail. But what you're looking at is 1,000 years ago when the church came on the quest of the Holy Grail to Block Island, anciently known as N1, saw the Fisher King and brought back the Spirit of Christ. And Christ was angry. He wanted nothing to do with it. He said, no, not in my name. And they forsaked him and brought it back and made it the Holy Grail. And you see Christ with the two eyes, nose, mouth, with his arms up laid back. He's carrying the cross up behind him, kind of falling down in front of you. And when you turn your head to the side, to the right, and look at Christ, you'll notice that he looks back angry. Christ was mad. So it's telling the true story of what happened, and that Christ was mad, and he didn't want him to do it, but they went pagan and forsaked him and brought it back and made it the Holy Grail. There was 200 years of war in the church over the communion. There was a pagan faction that said it was an abomination. They lost the Spear of Destiny here, which I found, and I have that, the ancient Roman spear that killed Christ. It's the whole thing's the head of a knight with a mouth, nose, eye, and it's the Holy Ghost. There's 3 places in the Bible where Christ says one thing he'll not forgive is to speak against the Holy Ghost. And in John, he specifically says that when things are really bad, he's going to send him. That he alone is the eternal truth. Only man can lie and deceive. And you see him with the crown of thorns in the eyes, nose, mouth, carrying the cross with his arms kind of laid back. The Holy Ghost has been found. This is a picture of the cardinals electing, the next pope. The cover of the New York Times, dated 3/13/13. When you turn it upside down, you see it's the art religion of the Grail. On the bottom here, you have a guy with the nose, 2 eyes, cut off face with the nose and his eyes, and coming out of his head, he's got a mouth at his eye. He can see what he's saying, nose, and he's got a hole in his head with a rag in his forehead. The guy's facing the direction of death with the nose and the hole in his head. And his mouth is at the first guy's eye, who's facing you, looking straight at you. He's between life and death. He drank from the Grail. Can see what the guy with the hole in the head is saying, who is facing the direction of death. That's the art religion of the Grail. And it's a cover of the New York Times. They're putting this devil worship in all the newspapers of our country. The church went pagan. They're running everything. And people should know that Christ is not with the Pope. He wants nothing to do with them. They're whacking head, eating brain. The Beatles were trying to tell you. We also have the statue that tells the story of John Lennon, and he knew what was going on, projecting our images in space and in time. The afterlife's of a different time continuum, what goes on forever, instantly. And the Beatles were trying to tell you the church went pagan. That's a secret to the Beatles music. Come on, Flat Top, he got. Choo Choo Eyeball, he want. Holy Roller, he got. The whacking at the head, eating brain to get the third eye. It's the church. Some kind of drewy-do, lifting the veil. Some call it magic to search for the Grail. That's what broke up the Beatles, the album Mind Games. They were saying, dude, we can't keep saying this, they're going to kill us. And they did kill them for telling you that the church went pagan, they're not with Christ, they're whacking head, eating brain, playing mind games, eating brain. The church went pagan, the Pope's a brain-eating cannibal. People really should know. And that's why John Lennon had to tell people, because he knew how important it was. And like I say, the one thing Christ will not forgive is to speak against the Holy Ghost. And in John, specifically says when things are really bad, he's going to send him. You're looking at the Holy Ghost, the Spirit of Christ put back in the physical world 1,000 years ago by the church. And I can go on forever showing you what's on this rock. It does so many amazing things, but it tells the whole story of the quest of the Holy Grail. And Christ is angry. He wants nothing to do with it. If you turn your head to the right and you look at Christ, it's like his head's turned. He's looking back at you, angry. His eyes are flared up angry because Christ was mad. And he wanted nothing to do with this thing. And they forsaked him and brought it back and made it the Holy Grail. And they lost the Spear of Destiny here, which I found. I also have that. The ancient Roman spear that killed Christ was lost on this island 1,000 years ago. And this is it. Right here. You're looking at the ancient Roman spear that was lost on this island 1,000 years ago. According to the legend, the Spear of Destiny has features that will hack. You see the features that hack at the base of it there. It's done up with the art of the Grail on it, proving that it was on this island anciently. The handle to this spear is still in the ground and can be recovered, proving that this spear was on this island anciently and came from here. That's how we found it. It's all, there's no way of getting around it. According to the legend, when they got back, the rich king died in battle, wounded by a spear. Wounded by the Spear of Destiny. He had sworn to return and failed. It's over. I have the Grail. I have the Spear of Destiny. The Holy Ghost. When they say Father, Son, Holy Ghost, they're talking about 1,000 years ago when they saw him, and it works. They saw him. These people saw him, and they put his spirit into the physical world, and I found the Holy Ghost. And Christ is mad that the church went devil worshiping in his name, eating people's brains. He's mad. July 12th, 2012, the New York Times, a picture of the austerity riots in Spain, page A6, the cover of the international section. New York Times, July 12th, 2012. And when you turn it upside down, you see the girl being beaten by the cop, becomes the art religion of the Grail. The guy, he's got the shiny thing coming off his nose, the beard, and it goes to the forehead of a guy. You can see how they fudge the painting so it looks like he's stuffing something in the guy's mouth with his hand. And he looks over this way and is touching the nose of the evil-looking monster with the third eye. And then it just goes on. But it's the art religion of the Grail. This is a painting of devil worship. It's being put in the New York Times, being put in every newspaper in our country. The church went pagan. People need to know. That's what's wrong with the world. And John Lennon was a real good guy. And he knew that nothing could be good while this was going on. And that it had to be stopped. So that's why he, having everything in the world, had to risk everything to tell people that the church went pagan. They're not with Christ. And Christ is angry. And I want to see the New York Times banned from all schools and town halls in our country, along with any other publication that's putting this devil worship in their newspaper.